Well, welcome everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are, everyone. I'm Joanna Molina. I'm the co-founder and head of impact at the Intern Group. And here at the Intern Group, we'll help people realize their potential through international internship programs. We offer remote, hybrid, and in-person opportunities for talent across the globe. So we are going to invite you to look at our website so you can find out different internship programs. Feel free to send us also an application form. You can speak with one of our admission consultants for free. Manami, thank you for sharing here the link. Paris as well, that's great. And Uganda. Wonderful. So I also want to give a very, very good shout out to our open learning platform. This is a library that has loads and loads of courses for you on real experiences for your professional development. It's completely free. So I encourage you to take advantage of it. Manami has just shared as well our link for you to make the most of that. For our program participants that might be already here in this call, you already have access to our full learning platform. So don't forget to log in into your account. The courses also provide you with a skills certificate. And today we are also going to be sending you a certificate of participation. So stick to the end. We will be sending you some links to see who has joined us today. I'm very excited today to introduce you to our amazing speakers. We have today Michael and Michelle from Xponential Growth. It's a pleasure to have you here, Michael and Michelle. You're going to introduce yourself very, very soon as well. Xponential Growth is a talent development and talent acquisition organization. They have a mission to nurture talent. They are here today to help you equip yourself with the skills and competencies to thrive in today's job market. We also invite you to look at their website, which we are going to be sharing. Is already there in the chat. So if you have any questions for Michelle or for Michael during the workshop, you can put them in the chat. We're going to be looking at the chat throughout the workshop. We can let them know. You can also raise your hand. You can also do them anonymously through our Slido. We're going to put a link through so you can ask questions if you'd like and you feel more comfortable anonymously. Okay, I'll let Michelle and Michael introduce themselves. Welcome. Thank you for being here with us. Michelle, Michael, take it away.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Joanna. Thank you for that half amazing introduction. And hello and welcome, everybody. We are excited to see that everybody's located around the world. Michelle, Joanna, and I and the team are energized and honored to be live with you for the next hour. I know that Joanna had invited for everybody just to share in the chat where you are in the world. So if you haven't done that, please go ahead, share an emoji, put in a reaction. We want to see one word that's just describing how you're feeling right now. We want to make sure that those controls are functioning and that you're tuned in. And we really encourage you to take full advantage of this session. It's your session. Let's learn together. So this only works if we have diverse contributions. So use that chat functionality as we're going through the presentation. I know that not everybody's always comfortable to come on screen or to post in the chat, but I challenge you today to be less shy in this session. You have our permission. And we're going to be sharing this slide deck, so please take some notes. But know comfortably that you're going to have access to these slides. And like Joanna said, we're going to be monitoring that chat and keep some time at the end for some Q&A. All right, so if we go into the next slide, we're just going to give you a little bit of a taste of what you can expect in this session. So the first is around building professional identity. And we're going to kick off on the importance of being deliberate on defining your professional identity and how you can leverage the power of influence and persuasion. And what I mean by this is Have you explored and validated what your unique strengths are, what your contributions are, and when you think about them in the context of your professional identity? So Joanna mentioned exponential growth. We operate globally, and our teams are based in South Africa and in Dubai. So when Michelle comes on, my colleague, you'll hear her dialing in from Dubai. And we're really involved in the business of people transformation. We're obsessed with what drives high performance in teams and organizations. And our belief is that an organization's ability to learn and translate that learning into action rapidly is their ultimate competitive advantage. Secondly, Michelle is actually going to take us into how you can build competency. And there's going to be a practical model and tool that supports you in being able to articulate your level of competency when you're describing or explaining a project or experience that you've encountered. The intent over here is that you can use this tool in conversation, whether you're preparing for an interview, or you're in a team and setting, or you're in a one-on-one with a reporting line. Lastly, we're then going to get into the importance of business acumen and what drives the behaviors and ambitions for any organization that delivers a product or service, regardless of whatever industry that they're in. So let's get going. All right, so the first question that I would like to seed with everyone online is, do you think that this statement on screen is true? If you're not visible, you're invisible. You can comment in the chat, so you can put a true or false or a yes or no. And while you do that, and while you're just thinking about if you're not visible, you're invisible, I'm going to tell you a quick story. So imagine this. I was in an all-boys high school in South Africa, 300 boys a grade, 1,500 boys in total. And I had this mate of mine. He was barely making his grades, average-looking chap, not too loud, and dare I say that he was charismatic. But if you look at him today, he's soaring and seemingly living his version of success. Now, I know everybody around the room over here has got that friend or acquaintance that you went to school with, and you know that they weren't necessarily the sharpest tool in the shed. But you look at them now, and they're doing amazing things. And I think I attribute that largely to the power of influence and persuasion. How they create an impression when it matters. So when you think about career advancement, it's actually more than just about hard work. Intelligence, hardworking, and loyal people often get overlooked for promotions. And I believe that the difference over here is visibility and how you show up in front of leadership and decision makers. So you'll see on screen that 90% of the time, you're interacting with peers and friends and neighbors and family and service providers when you go to the store and community members. Now, there is that 10% of the time where you're expected to be in front of people who are 2 levels or reporting lines above you. And this is your opportunity to impress a manager, to create a new network, to create a memorable public speaking engagement, share an insightful social media post, or nailing that job interview. We're not doing these things every day or as regularly as that 90%. And that 10% I call the zone of self-belief. And we're actually just going to pop in the chat a short 3-minute podcast video that we did on the topic of self-belief. And you can go and check it out, post this session. And how you perform in that 10% zone of self-belief heavily influences your ability to be promoted or to take advantage of opportunities. Now, something I learned from a coach of mine is, are you remarkable? Are you worth making a remark about when you're no longer in the room or in that virtual environment? You have to be memorable for the right reasons. So what are some of those visibility situations that you can take advantage of or leverage from as soon as tomorrow. These are the moments that decision makers or opportunity holders remember you for. So listen up, and you can take some notes over here. One-on-one meetings. So whether it's with your intern manager, a supervisor, a reporting line, that's an opportunity. Secondly, team meetings. Whether those meetings are daily or weekly or monthly, prepare for them. Third, conference calls, whether it's online sessions like the one that we're on right now, business presentations. Now, when you have that opportunity, find a way to use your voice, find a way to contribute. And then lastly, those company socials or those networking events. These are all opportunities for you to show up. If you're invisible in these situations, you're invisible in the organizations. Now, if you also speak consistently in a positive and solution-orientated frame, this is also going to allow you to leverage a power of influence. It's useful for people to have a positive framing when they think about you. Once again, you know that there are those people who have nothing positive to say. They're always complaining, they're always critiquing quite bluntly, and it's not even productive or constructive. You have an opportunity to frame your feedback as opportunities for improvement, and you can always come across as genuine and authentic. So it doesn't have to be fake. Here's an example. So an okay response after a presentation or a performance for a meeting could sound something like this. So what can I do better to improve how I just did? Now, an even better response or a great response sounds something like this. What do you suggest I can do differently to engage more meaningfully? Can you hear the difference over there? Adaptability is also key. So once again, you don't want to lose your authenticity. Just as we naturally adjust to our behaviors whenever we are with friends or with family members or at formal events, you should adjust for professional settings. Being strategic about how you show up isn't about being fake. It's about being aware of your context and role expectations. Remember that influence exists everywhere. What I've shared with you doesn't only apply in a corporate environment. It's something that you can use in social settings too. Visibility, strategic communication, and confidence is really what matters when you're seeking influence. So I would like to go into the next slide where we're really going to talk about some of the principles that you can use to actually leverage this power of influence and persuasion. So the art of influence and persuasion, if I see what we've got on screen over there, we've borrowed from the work of a gentleman by the name of Robert Cialdini. And we're actually about to share 6 timeless influence moves that you can start using today to shape perceptions and position yourself in your career journey. So why does influence matter? I think we can all agree that in the job market and the workplace, it's actually not just about what you know. We also know that it's important about who you know, but it's also about how you position it. Your ability to shape perceptions can open doors, build trust, and create opportunities. So let's meet these 6 principles. So reciprocity. So when you give first, people want to give back. And an example over here, buy someone a coffee, take them out for lunch, share a job tip, recommend a connection, this all builds goodwill. And it doesn't have to be big. A kind word or just a helpful article always counts. Authority. So people listen to those that they trust and see as credible. So I know that as Joanna had introduced Michelle and I, we're really hoping that off the bat that our credibility landed because it came from somebody credible. It's important to show your expertise, to share your story, your skills, your learning journey. And a tip that I would ask you to do over here, or something that I would share, is ask someone else to introduce you or endorse you. It instantly builds credibility. So liking. We say yes to people that we like. It's a fact. So be relatable, find common ground, pay genuine compliments, be kind always. Another tip that I would want to give over here is that you want to be the person who everyone enjoys working with. It just makes everything all the more easier. Now, scarcity. All right, we talk about abundance at work, we talk about growth mindset and abundance in the universe. But when we're talking about scarcity here, people value what they feel is rare or exclusive. So if you think about what we're discussing right now, it's so crucial to showcase your unique skills, your unusual experiences, your standout traits. And you want to position yourself as one of the few who can do something specific. You want to become a linchpin. And I'm going to just pop something else in the chat over here. And this is a summary of a book, titled Linchpin. It's by a best-selling author, Seth Godin. And once you've read that, you can determine after reading that review whether you'd like to actually invest in buying the book. Consistency. So we want to be consistent with what we say and do. So I would recommend over here that you make small public commitments about your goals. Show up consistently. And a recommendation is get yourself an accountability partner. Tell a friend that you trust about your goals and continue showing up for it. And I think lastly, social proof. We consciously and sometimes subconsciously copy what other people do, especially when we're not certain or we're unsure. Now, this is such an awesome opportunity to use testimonials, to share endorsements, and highlight where others can reference and back your work. So surround yourself with growth-minded people. Their success habits are contagious, and perhaps this rubs off on you. So, if I was to quickly recap these 6 over here, you want to give value first. You want to position your strengths in such a way that you can display your skills confidently. You want to highlight what makes you unique in an authentic kind of way. Be consistent in your messaging and always showcase social proof whenever it's possible. Now, when I think about social proof, and as we move into the next slide, what we would like to share with you over here is how you can actually harvest compelling data from specific people that adds to your portfolio of evidence. And I think that this is a pretty cool tool that is inexpensive and you can do immediately. I call it the testimonial and reference exercise. So you're going to reach out to between 10 to 20 people of your 10 to 20 of your people and ask them to share a 1 to 2 minute voice note providing you with a testimonial or a reference. You want to use the 6 principles that we just had up there on the influence and persuasion to engage with this intended audience. Now, the message could look something like this, and we've got it up on screen over here. Hi, Manami. I'm reaching out with a request that would mean the world to me. I'm working on an opportunity I've been nurturing for a while, and I've been given the green light. And the green light could be an invitation to go in for an interview. It could be, for a meeting that you've got scheduled. I'd love to include a few short voice testimonials from people I've worked with and partnered alongside. And I immediately thought of you. Would you be willing to record a short 1 to 2 minute voice note about your experience working with me? It could touch on any of the following areas and whatever else that comes to mind. And where I've got in red over here, you can actually list your specific skills and strengths. I've actually just listed a couple of mine from a talent development or facilitation or storytelling perspective. No need to script anything. Just grab your phone and speak from the heart. I'd be incredibly grateful for your support, Michael. I encourage you to do an exercise like this and reach out to your intern managers, to professors, to community leaders, to student body peers. Trust me, this exercise, firstly, it's going to lift you up and energize you. And secondly, it's going to serve as validation of your skills and competencies, and more importantly, your inherent strengths. So I think I'm going to be handing over to Michelle, and this is going to be a great time to bring her online, and we're going to be leveling up our ability to have a competency-based discussion when we're showcasing our portfolio of evidence, and especially when we're preparing for an interview. And As we move on to the next slide, over to you, Michelle.
Thank you so much, Michael. I don't know if I can keep up with that awesome experience that you just showed. Yeah, so I'm a career coach and mentor, and I think my passion lies in empowering and helping and just learning from the generation that we are so excited to have coming into the working world. And yeah, I think Michael covered so much of important information in saying that just representing yourself, showing up, being who you are, being true, being, somebody of integrity. It really transforms into your day-to-day life, and then, of course, into the workplace. And really, interns coming into the working environment, it's so daunting, it's so overwhelming. And it really helps to have all of this information, but also be able to pick out the vibrant, attractive, and influential information that's going to actually help you to get that career path, that career, something that you really enjoy doing. So I always remember the saying, I think my husband always says it, is that if you love what you're doing, then you'll never work a day in your life. So yeah, I'm hoping that we can help you to get that. So yeah, Michael, you really touched on how insightful and there's so many creative ways that we can build, that you can build your brand by being visible and using the art of persuasion and the power of influence. But today I'm going to talk about something that literally changed my career path, the STAR method for job interviews. Today I'm going to be talking about something that I believe in the STAR method. First and foremost, the STAR method got me my dream job. I was interviewed for a recruitment specialist position at Kelly Personnel, a leading corporate company in South Africa. And I did not come from a recruitment or HR background. Neither did I have the experience in the field or a qualification in HR. The branch manager started the interview by saying, Michelle, you don't have any experience in recruitment and HR or a qualification in HR. She then asked me, let's see what your competencies are in the four crucial areas that our organization needs: critical thinking, teamwork, problem solving, adaptability and change management, leadership. Well, at that point, I took a deep breath and I prayed really hard and listened carefully to her explanation of the STAR method. Needless to say, I got my dream job. I did this by sharing my portfolio of competencies and experiences using this structured approach. So, exactly what did I do in the STAR method? And what is the STAR method? So, STAR is an acronym that stands for S, situation. Describe a specific situation you were in. T, task. Describe the tasks you had to do, highlighting challenges, constraints, deadlines, and issues. A, action. Describe the action you took, emphasizing teamwork, leadership skills, initiatives, integrity, and other key competencies. R, for results. Describe the outcome of those actions, highlighting achievements, improvements, cost savings, and how you met deadlines. Employees use this technique to gain insights into how you will handle various situations, believing that your past performance in similar circumstances will indicate how you will perform in their organization. Now, as interns entering the working world and competing against hundreds of candidates who probably have more experience or are more qualified than you still can land that dream job by effectively sharing your portfolio of competencies and experiences. The STAR method gives you a framework to showcase your capabilities. Even if you have, even if your experiences comes from academic projects, volunteer work, or even part-time jobs. Guys, let's put this into practice. I'm going to be using a real life situation. So I'm going to be introducing you to Erin. She has just completed her bachelor's degree in HRM psychology with no corporate experience. She has been invited to an interview at a leading corporate organization. Let's see how she handles these questions. I am a recruitment specialist interviewing her. So let's start. Hi, Erin. Thank you so much for joining me today. Can you share an experience where you had to adapt to a sudden change or unexpected challenge? And let's use the STAR method, Erin. So the question is, so during your time, so Erin, can you share an experience where you had to adapt to a sudden change or unexpected challenge?
While using the STAR method, the situation was during my workplace internship, our project scope drastically changed due to new industry regulations, requiring us to modify our approach and deliverable. The task was my team needed to quickly adapt to the new requirements while still meeting tight deadlines and maintaining project quality. The action, I organized an emergency meeting with my team members to brainstorm potential solutions. We conducted thorough research, sought guidance from our mentors, and reallocated resources to address the challenges. The result, despite the unexpected hurdles, we successfully revised our project to align with the updated regulations, and our work was praised by both the organization and external stakeholders. The experience taught me the importance of flexibility and resourcefulness in navigating unforeseen circumstances.
Thank you so much, Erin. That really, really gave us some insight on how you will be able to handle unexpected changes. Here, she demonstrated the competency of adaptability and how she would handle change management. Let's see how she handles the second question. So, Erin, can you describe a situation where you had to demonstrate your leadership skills?
The situation, as part of a group project at uni, our team encountered conflicts and lack of direction that were hindering progress. The task, recognizing the need for leadership. I stepped up to take charge and facilitate the group's collaboration and decision making process. The action, I initiated a team meeting to address everyone's concerns and encourage open discussions to find common ground. I assigned specific tasks to each team member based on their strengths and provided regular feedback and guidance to ensure everyone was on track. The results, by displaying leadership qualities, the team's dynamic improved significantly. We achieved better cooperation and productivity, resulting in high quality product submission and positive feedback from our professor.
Thank you, Erin. You answered those questions like a star. So let's see how we can effectively prepare for these star interviews. I would recommend a few tips. Look over the job spec, the job description. Be careful to identify competencies that the employer is seeking. Choose a few strong, versatile example stories that can be adapted to different situations. Write down key details of each story to ensure you don't forget important ones. Practice your storytelling to make it concise yet impactful. Don't rush yourself. During the interview, take a moment to think before responding. So, guys, in conclusion, the STAR method isn't just an interview technique. It's a powerful storytelling framework that helps you showcase your true potentials to employees. Remember, even without extensive work experience, you have valuable competencies and experiences that make you an asset to any organization. Key is to communicate these effectively, and the STAR method gives you the structure to do exactly that. Thank you for your attention. I've shared some additional STAR method questions and examples in the chat for your reference. So now Michael will discuss how remaining curious helps you develop lifelong skills in your speciality and interests.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Michelle. So when it comes to building business acumen, and this is the third point that we want to land in the session today, I believe that as knowledge workers, if we're thinking about the information age, it's your job to know everything. Yes, I said it. Now we know that's impossible, right? I think that the next best thing is having access to tools and resources so that in that moment of need, you can access the necessary information, that expertise, or that knowledge that is required. The rise in commercial use of AI is such game-changing leveling of the playing field technology. Now imagine a world where instead of us beginning in kindergarten we could actually devote a class to curiosity and explanation. A class that consistently teaches kids to ask why and to answer how. Curiosity is a skill, and I believe that this can be taught. Now think about it. It's more important today to be able to ask the right questions rather than having the right answers. If we think of AI now, it's actually more useful to have a well thought out prompt asking a good question, and you know that this impacts the quality of the output that you get. So what you're seeing on screen over there is some data from the World Economic Forum, and you'll see that there's listed the top 20 emerging job roles by 2030. And on the far right in black, you can see the top 10 skills for the future workplace. Now, 50% of all employees globally were going to need reskilling by this year, 2025. And remember what I said earlier about an organization's ability to learn and apply that learning being their only competitive advantage. This is actually more key than ever before when we think about learning for relevance. As you go into the job market, you'll see that stat over there. 94% of business leaders are expecting you to learn new skills on the job. So what's really interesting and what I found interesting is I want to bring your attention to that block on the right in black. 5 of those top 10 skills for the future workplace are inherently human traits and abilities. If you think about innovation, creativity, and originality, that's a massive one. Resilience, flexibility, and agility, leadership and social influence. We spoke about that a little earlier when we're talking about the power of persuasion moments ago, and emotional intelligence and empathy. So yes, machines and robots are going to do some of our work in the future, but that's really going to allow us to really focus on human-only capabilities. I encourage you, stay curious about how the organization that you're interested in delivers their product or their service, how they acquire and keep their customers, and build your skills relevant and accordingly for this future. So we're now going to transition into digital content, that allows you to build relevant skills. And we're talking anytime, anywhere, on any device. So as we move on to the next slide, you'll see that we've got some interesting information up on screen over here. The Xponential Growth team has access to some of the world's best content providers, and they create and deliver relevant and fresh content in a range of business-related skills. And this is productivity and collaboration to leadership, to professional self-management, to technology and developer applications. We're talking about really applying the science of learning and engaging all of the senses. So, you're able to read a book, view a video, listen to an audiobook, or practice in a live environment. And it's got all the latest stuff in cybersecurity and machine learning and data and cloud. And as you can see on screen, a lot of numbers, but access to the most extensive course library in the world, delivered in 29 different languages. I can see we've got people from all around the globe, 45 million users monthly. And an interesting stat, video is actually still the most consumed modality. And, there's over 65,000 video assets, over there. So we are now going to be reaching a wrap, or almost be reaching a wrap of this session. But before we do, we're going to move over to the next slide. And we really just want to make sure that we anchor what it is that we've shared here today. So if we were to quickly just recap, at the top, we spoke about how you can build your brand, and if you're not visible, you're invisible, and how you can actually go about using your power of influence and persuasion. Michelle and Aaron took us into how you can be a star and use the methodology as a tool when you're showcasing your unique contributions and the skills that you have to offer. You want to remain curious. You want to commit to lifelong learning. And this is commitment and continuous building of skills that are relevant to your chosen area of specialization and expertise or interest, whatever it is that you're going into. Get interested in what you're interested in. Make sure that you're paying attention to what it is that you're interested in. And once again, we want to think futuristically over here. You want to have the expectation that what it is that you're interested in is actually going to manifest. So we are trusting that this workshop, really delivered on our promise, and that we met some of your expectations, and that some of the information that we've shared over here is valuable. That's going to allow you to really show up better and position you for success. So remember, folks, it's really not about perfection. It's all about progress. So a massive thank you for everyone who's tuned in over here. You'll see in the background, we've actually sent you some virtual flowers. And this is just to show our gratitude and appreciation. And Joanna and Manami, I know that we had promised some time to perhaps get into some questions and answers. This is the end of the presentation. We would love to use the next couple of moments and just tune into some of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle and Michael. This was absolutely excellent. Made loads of notes, and thank you for the flowers. I love them. So let's start with some questions. And I want more questions. Guys, you are quite quiet. I want more questions. So one is, going back to the principles of influence and persuasion, how can we make ourselves more likable?
More likable.
Tricky one, no?
That's a tricky one, because we all know that it's different strokes for different folks, and I believe that context is everything. And if I just think about the concept of being likable, firstly, whether you're virtually on a camera on a call, or it's actually just telephonically, people can hear whether you're smiling or not. So firstly, I'll already say, part of being likable is, as you're speaking, people can really hear the energy in your voice, even if it can't, really be seen. And something else that's maybe just coming off top of mind, and Michelle, I guess there isn't a right answer over here, but we're going to share. But if I was to think about something else that makes you likable, is whenever I prepare for an engagement, so this is either with somebody that you know or it's actually somebody brand new and you're engaging with them or you want to activate them for the very first time. The first thing is have something that you can share that that might be insightful to this person. So we've got access to people's LinkedIn's and their Facebook and their social profiles. If you go and actually do some homework on someone and you can go to them and say, hey, congratulations on whatever it is that you've achieved, or I had seen you, in this, in post this on whatever platform, and you're just showing interest, I can tell you that's one sure way, to be likable. So the first thing is, get something insightful that you can share with someone. The second is, I think that alignment is important. So if you can maybe in your research or in your question, find out if what it is that you're aligned with is perhaps something that is aligned with the next person. I think that this could, just allow you to be slightly more likable. And then, lastly is, you've got to be authentic and real. I think people can really see when someone is not being genuine. So especially when you're using artificial intelligence and perhaps you're creating prompts or you whatever, it's so important that you're still a human being. People, I know when I get a message and I'm like, this has been fabricated and you've probably sent this to 100 other people. And trust me, that's not going to make you like you a whole lot more. So I'm hoping that answers your question to some extent.
It definitely does. Sorry, I wasn't on mute and I was laughing so loud. It definitely does. I agree with the authenticity, give first, and being like genuine is something that everyone can actually feel. There's another one. Does scarcity and consistency not clash?
So look, when we're saying consistency, it's if you think how at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year, everybody's got, resolutions and things that they want to get done. I think inherently when we say that we want to do things, we truly do have an intention, to follow through on them. And I think that that's the you could say influential or persuasion, that you can tap into the need for people to feel that I want to be consistent and I want to follow through with what it is that I'm doing. So it's saying that if you want to persuade and influence someone, be consistent in the way that your demeanor, your energy. You can't be up and down, and you can't also say something and not deliver on it. So you've got to be able to deliver on your promises. And I think that that's what the consistency bit is. Now, when we're looking at scarcity is saying that people love a rare thing. That friend of yours that is just a gem. They're a rare individual because of the value that they add to your life. There are not many of them. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about scarcity. So when you want to showcase your unique contributions or your portfolio of evidence, it's being able to say that, what are those unique things that are going to make me come out and be perceived as one in a few and a rare and only thing? I'm hoping that answers that question.
So I have to agree with Michael there. And there's also something that I learned, very early in my career, is if the magic is working, don't change it. So yeah, you want to definitely keep it consistent. However, you want to also bring in your rare talents and your new and exciting thoughts and innovative ideas. So yeah, the two can marry. And we actually living in such an incredible dynamic era right now, where you can be consistent and innovative. So yeah, to answer your question, it can definitely go together.
Thank you, Michelle and Michael. The key there, like the difficult part, is how do you even identify your unique contributions, especially if we are thinking about early career professionals, people still at university. It's so hard. Even I don't know, at any stage in your life, it's so hard to go within and say, oh, my unique contributions are X, Y, Z. What do you recommend for people to identify those?
So, Joanna, I know that that was a thought that I had, not just a couple of weeks ago, because you're so busy doing so much. Sometimes you really do need to get that reminder for yourself to be like, but what is it that I'm really, really good at? What is it that I'm strong at? Now, when I think about strengths, for me, it's quite a simple explanation. A strength is it's that's something that when you use, it strengthens you. And you'll actually notice whenever you are using that strength, it's time can go by and you actually won't even feel what it is that you're doing because you're leveraging a strength. Now I hate to call them weaknesses. I actually call them energy drainers. Weakness is actually something that weakens you. So when you're doing it, it actually you're not very comfortable. You're actually feeling like it's making you sluggish. You can actually just start noticing if you were to look at your week and just say, out of my days and the various activities that I engage in, where am I actually feeling on days where I'm actually very energized? And if you actually tap in and go into there, you'll probably find that you are leveraging, some of your strengths, over there. And now, if you wanted to become a little bit more scientific, this is the work that we do as exponential growth. Right up front, even if you're saying, what skills is it that I want to develop? I do want to have a baseline. I want to say, what is my as is right now? Where am I at? And how can I then benchmark myself, moving forward? So there are some tools that we have within our organization that allow you to better start identifying your strengths. And, what I would also encourage you is go into your chat and your AI tool and just put in there, what are some of the free resources that I can use to identify or leverage my strengths, and just see some of the links that come up over there. And I can tell you, go ahead and use one of them and start leveraging them. And you'll see that's going to be one piece of the puzzle. And then you'd be able to go and validate that through perhaps an exercise that we did around getting testimonials and references.
Exactly. What I will add is it's a moving situation. It's not like, okay, these are my strengths and there will be forever. One thing that has worked for me is asking people that are around me, that I trust, that I admire, what do you see as my strengths? Sometimes people outside get to see things we don't see for ourselves. So that also might be helpful when looking for our unique proposition. And on that note, on testimonials, we have a question from Tristan on testimonials. So when asking for testimonials, is it more important to focus on working together professionally, or will you suggest also asking friends you've helped with moving, for example?
My immediate answer to that is a combination of both. You want to be able to harvest your professional traits, but also what you're like in a social setting. And I think, whoever you're sharing that with would appreciate, both dimensions of who it is that you are. I actually saw briefly in the note earlier, is it easy? I think it was Michelle who said, is it better for me to actually get verbal testimonials, versus written, testimonials? And once again, I don't think there's a right answer there. I say it's both and, get a combination of both. I know on LinkedIn, there's actually a functionality that allows you to go and put in a project and invite someone to give you an endorsement on whatever that project is that you've worked with them on. And perhaps there it's really nice to use a written example. If you've worked for an organization, that is global and is big time, the ability for you to have, your reference on a letterhead that's got their logo on there, with somebody's signature saying, if you want to hear about how amazing this person is, you're welcome to contact me. That goes a really, really long way. And what I really liked about the voice recordings is that you can transcribe those and turn them into a written text that you can then use, for a presentation or on LinkedIn or whatever. But once again, both and it's not to say that the one is better than the other.
Yeah, and if I could just add, I think I just saw Owen saying something also about the competencies. So it is also important that your portfolio of evidence or portfolio of experience has the scientific, and you have the numbers and you have the stats and you actually have the problem solving tools that you use to to overcome situations, be it personal or in a professional environment. And I think as interns, you probably going to say to me, yeah, but I have not managed a team, or I have not handled a big project, or I was not asked to close $1 million deal. But I think it's just thinking back on your day-to-day life, what you did at home, how you strategically got out of doing your homework or cleaning the house, how you managed your group of peers at a university, a club that you were in, how you got the team working, how you raised the funding that was needed to build, a wing at your university, or to buy a charity organization. So that's something that you need to pick on, and pick the different experiences of life and put it together in your testimonial. And just Joanna, I don't know if this question is going to come up in the chat, but I've just been looking at so many different opportunities. Right now, I think organizations and recruiters and hiring managers, they really look at a CV and they say, you know what, LinkedIn can do this, ChatGPT can do that. What do you bring to my organization? So you really, really have to dig deep, be practical, look at how you're going to add value. And I think when you walk into an interview, as overwhelming as it is, that first handshake, the way that you present yourself in your body language, and how you walk into the room, how you sit down, how you greet, and it really showcases what you're going to bring, and it really elevates you and puts you above the rest of the candidates that's sitting out there and memorizing their duties that they did on their CV. Yeah, so that's my.
We have two more questions. One is, what are some of the top skills that I should highlight? Quite generic. I guess it depends on what are you looking for, but how will you approach this?
So Joanna, just to answer the question, is this I'm wanting to build my skills, but I'm perhaps not 100% sure where I should start.
Yes, that's why I say it's quite generic. So perhaps we can join it with another question, which is, how do we approach roles that require technical skills, or let's call it skills you haven't yet gained experience in?
Now, I immediately to both questions over there, and Michelle, as I'm answering, you would probably come in, but I believe that curiosity is just really the key. The rate of change of just what is happening in the world is just it's lightning fast, and by the time you have perhaps spent 6 months or a year learning an application or trying to get a technical capability, that things have actually already moved on. And once again, I'm just going to go back to that quote. Your competitive advantage is your ability to learn and apply that learning in real time. That is what your competitive advantage is. So I think that it is being able to just leverage all resources that you have. If you have somebody who's been there, done that, that is just such an easy way to go and find out how something can get done. So if I've got a technical skill that I don't have at the moment, and somebody's asking me that, hey, for you to be eligible for this, you would need to go and get it. I would say tap into a network or reach out to someone. LinkedIn is really, really a valuable resource, that you can use, where you can actually firstly go and search and find someone who you would feel is, kind of the archetype that you're looking for. And just by following them, the reality is, when I think of mentors and coaches, it's really, really tough from a mentorship perspective for somebody to take an hour or 2 hours of their time each month to sit down with you and make sure that they're engaging. What I would really suggest is leverage these resources. If I was somebody who is about to go into the employment market, listening to a session like this, when I'm just talking about career advancement, how to build my personal brand, how to build business acumen, how to build my competency, there are many, many other free resources just like this one. And I'm saying that go and follow that group on a social platform or whatever it is. And ever so often, you'll start seeing that they've got webinars, they've got podcasts, they've got interviews with these subject matter experts who have that technical capability that you're looking for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I have to agree with Michael, and I'll just put one point in. But I think that, with all of this information that is out there, it is important to make sure that you are channeling your expertise and your knowledge in what you want your end goal to be. And it is important to have an expert to help you through that journey, because trust me, it can become overwhelming, especially if you're looking for a technical skill. Who do you use? Is it authenticated? Is it going to be authorized by the governing or authorization body? So with all the information of AI and LinkedIn and again all of this social media information, it is important to have a subject matter expert or a mentor or a coach or a trainee or somebody that actually is doing this, that can point you in the right direction. Otherwise, trust me, you will actually be going around in circles and not getting to what you need.
100%. You can always say, I'm acquiring that skill, right? And I'm doing X, Y, Z to get to a better level. You don't have to know everything. Like if you come across as I know everything, that's actually quite bad for you. Last question, because we're almost at time. So Ahmed, my question will be, how will you go about being a high performer in a completely different environment? For example, embarking on a career in South America when you have only known Europe. What sort of things can elevate your status?
Off the top of my head, and Michelle, once again, you can come in. I think the access to information, especially when you're going into a different geographical environment, your ability to YouTube, to use whether it's ChatGPT or Perplexity or Gemini or Claude, Anthropic. There's just a range of things, and you can go in. And once again, it's about asking the right questions and not having all of the right answers. So the research component over here would be important. And when you're talking about, the businesses that you're interested in or the industry that you're interested in, there's usually white papers or there's usually, quite a large document that would talk about that industry. I'm saying download that and then go and summarize it, use an assistant to get you summarized. But this is the research part of, I know this type of environment or this demographic or geographic, and I'm now wanting to explore somewhere else. But before I do, I need to go and do my homework.
And if I could just use the personal experience, I mean, moving from South Africa to Dubai, totally different culture, totally different working environment. And what we did to adapt, especially coming from high corporate companies and working environments, get to know the people, get to know the culture, understand the culture, and you have to be adaptable. You cannot come in and say, we did it this way, so this is how I'm going to do it. And it took me a long time because I'm not I like the way I do things, and I tend to stick to it. So it's really, being able to move that cheese if you need to and adapt into the working environment, but also being humble enough to understand the people, respect the culture, and being able to take what you've learned in your country, in your working environment, and being able to adapt it, whether it even means sometimes you have to, be humble enough and actually bring yourself a little bit, below your level, to adapt, and that actually will eventually bring out your expertise and teach you a different skill.
100%. And in your case, then, well, from Europe to South America, you can also connect with companies or people that actually need to connect with Europe. So that will be Europe unique point as well. Good luck with that. Absolutely, Ahmed. We'd love to meet you in Medellin then this summer. That's excellent. All right, I think we are 1 minute past, and I could be speaking with you guys, Michael, Michelle, and everybody here for a lot longer. Thank you, Manami, for sharing how to connect with the speakers. As promised, you can unlock a certificate from this session. You can fill out the form in the comment section for you to receive this certificate. Just as a closing comment, would you like to let everyone know, please, where they can connect with you, Michael, in addition to what we have shared? LinkedIn is your preferred form?
Yes, so you can catch us Xponential Growth on LinkedIn. I've also got a personal profile. We're also on Instagram and Facebook as Xponential Growth. So go check out what it is that you do. You're more than welcome to engage with me or Michelle directly. We would love to hear from you, even post the session. So that's where you can reach us, Joanna.
Thank you both for all your knowledge, but even more so the energy that I could feel it from the other side of the world. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. See you in another session. Manami, as always, thank you for being such a star in these sessions. See you guys very, very soon. Take care. Have a lovely rest of your days. Bye-bye.